I tell you what, Ty, it gets me every time. I do love that intro. All right, welcome everybody to, of course, the stream. Welcome to our Wednesday or Tuesday, depending on where you are, I guess, in the world session here. Hopefully everyone is having a very, actually it's Wednesday everywhere, I think now, having a very good day, and you're ready for us to talk about these markets because they have gone exponentially green in the last couple of hours, and it's looking a lot better than it was. Now, Tyrone, how are you going this week? And are you ready to talk about these things?
Good. Yeah, for so many reasons, and the market's just one of them. Green. They do certainly look like they're trying to find a base at the moment. I don't totally trust everything that I see, but what I see, I often trade. And you can't help but notice that we're starting to get some lightning bolt on the way up on the smaller time frames. If they end that way, I'm looking forward to seeing all of this play out tomorrow morning in the Q&A. We've got live Q&A tomorrow morning. It'll be very, very interesting to see if we've still got bulls. I think if we do, we're probably going to see a pretty positive close to the week. I like it. And there's so many reasons to celebrate, Thomas. I mean, let's start with 80,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Woohoo. It's been a long time. Long time coming. We are grinding out every subscriber. We are literally calling people on the phone, telling them to subscribe so we can get to 100,000. And we finally got to 80 today. So that was a big, big milestone. So we're very happy about that. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support there. Of course, we've got the conference in less than 48 hours. How exciting is that? All the people that are going are buzzing. Everybody's very, very excited. And Thomas and I are extraordinarily excited. I'm probably more excited than Thomas because I've got an extended couple of days up there after the conference. So I'm probably a little bit more excited than Thomas is.
I'm trying to figure out how to make videos up there.
Yeah, but very good. But you know what, though? What we're also seeing is a market that's behaving itself to an extent where we can actually trade it and scalp it. So I think that's also, a really, really good thing. We've had some really good trades this week, and we're looking forward to jumping in and checking out some of the other ones that we can see for tonight and early into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, so look, Ty, with the story of the morning, I guess, so far has been crypto's breakout, which has been fairly extreme. And then on top of that, we've also obviously got the markets having a very large move here, 2.65% up on the NAS, 2.1% up on the US 500. So let's just break down what's going on, because this is the market coming into the close. Obviously looked bearish. Sell the rip, the current strategy that we've used for a little while here. Now, I did say in today's video that the first time I actually saw some positive action coming out of the markets, and we've now seen some of the worst news. Remember, we always suspected that this would be sell the rumor, let's say, and then possibly once the worst of it's over, maybe it will turn. Okay. Now, it doesn't seem, we're not calling the base bottom right now, but certainly a lot of bad news has come out. And I think that's very apparent. Like, you think about the bans on Russian oil. Well, that's been announced. UK's come along. Even if Europe comes along, the market's priced some of that in. We've got nickel. Tyron, I don't think anyone really appreciates how insane this is. Let me just show you the nickel. What is this? This isn't what I want. Let me refresh. By the way, thanks for getting us over 4,000 people here on the Twitters since we've been using it. So there's the nickel chart, and you'll someone got flogged. Yeah, that's a pump. That's an absolute short squeeze. I mean, whenever you've seen one, there's clearly a lot of covering going on in that chart. But look, this is often what you see at those hysterical peaks of something. And people are going to be looking at this and saying, whoa, this is going to be this high forever and it's all so bad. Look, it won't be this high. It will come back to a base that I would say this may look very differently. Let's see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I find that very hard to believe. But this is the type of market we're in right now. Very wild both ways. So let's actually break down the Nasdaq here for today, because I did post before Bitcoin broke out and people have been saying, is Bitcoin leading the market? I kind of drew that comparison, but in essence, I really want to show the actual Nasdaq itself from a series of
You've
high
got to
highs and
be a
high lows.
diehard Bitcoin fan to be saying it's leaving the market, don't you?
I said it on Twitter. I
love
said
it.
it.
Oh,
I
love it.
was laughing about saying it because people have been saying it. But the point is, why not? Why not say Bitcoin's leading the market? We can do that. We can do that. No, in
Love it.
real essence, why I was doing it was because we were seeing a series of higher lows. And you've got to think about what just happened. The market got destroyed, especially in Europe. You were seeing the DAX down, 20%, so fast. In fact, my Buy America short DAX thing was going crazy. I told Ty on Monday, I was like, oh, Ty, it's like up like 15, 16%. That is insanely big range. And whenever that's happened, usually the DAX starts to, or at least the market that's getting completely roiled does start to come back up. So I think this is a bit of risk on because some of the bad news is there. But I also like this technical analysis. And here we have the triple resistance tie, one of my favorites, the little rejection in the futures. And it's come through and then bulled with a nice big hammer here. Almost got below, but I look, it's almost what we were talking about actually in our little Pepperstone webinar we were just doing. I mean, this is in essence one of the types of trades we like to take, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It was setting up, and when they do go, boy oh boy, they are a bit of fun, aren't they? They are a bit of fun. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yeah,
okay,
you can hear me now. Yeah. Before you were a bit bad, but you're back.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have lost hearing. Cool.
So this is a pretty big move here in terms of the markets pre-market. I don't know, another just tie whether it can hold up. We're going to probably be somewhere around testing this 13.5 to 13.7 kind of zone. Somewhere in here is where you expect to be opening. And I would usually expect to be opening somewhere up in this top range because this is where it's going to fight with itself. And I said to Ty before this, imagine if we saw a daily close above there. I mean, what's the next step for this market? You would have to think if it closes above this wick that it goes and starts plowing into this downward trend line again. What are your thoughts, Ty?
Yeah, no, I think that the next little bit of market action on a lot of these indices, not just the US 100, is going to be telling for the patterns that we're going to see next week. I agree with you, though, that it's a very logical target to go for if we get that break above there. I know it doesn't look like a lot of movement, but you know what? We're in a scalping environment right now. Volatile markets equal scalping short-term trades.
Yeah.
And if you do that and religiously live and die by that, you're going to do quite well in these sorts of markets.
Yeah. Selling the rip has been very successful. But I did say in today's video, the bond market for the first day in a long time, except for the day over here, my indicator was kind of telling me like over here, yeah, bullish. Over here, potential. And a few people have been calling something like the VIX saying 85% long today and all these other things. Well, I guess the futures are doing it. Now, there are some problems, and there always are. I think if you've missed this trade, it's hard to get into it now, Ty. So I want to go through some other markets. But look, it's up pretty heavily. Is this the bottom in? We don't know that yet. If it breaches underneath this support down here, let's say it breaches underneath this support, it's not good. This is very bad. Okay. So it gets underneath this support. Well, all of our soothsaying and talking about 3,800 and 12,000, 12K Nasdaq, I think would come true. Underneath here is a serious level that algorithms will be getting into, but it's going to be hard to get through there, at least initially. And I think if there is a sell today and it plows through, wow, that's going to be a big deal, isn't it, Ty?
Oh yeah. That would be, not nice.
Very bad. Very bad.
Yeah.
I'll actually just Dave, if you could you share this in the Discord community? I think a few people missed it this week, so just chuck it in there and let them know that we're live if possible. So we've got the markets. Look, they're up a lot. If you missed it during the futures action, I think it's a tough trade right now. I can't see anything I really like. Usually it's been selling the rip, e.g., previous supports, previous resistances. We're at around that level right now. I mean, this is the area that you expect problems from the futures market, somewhere in this green zone. So I guess if the market opens and you see the lightning bolt down, or you see the rejection candle, or any of these reasons, then guess what? Maybe you're going to have to look towards the sell off there. Maybe it is another sell or rip, and this is just the futures, fake market futures having action. So I would have something like this green zone drawn up between the last high and the previous supports. And just like over here, if it does show you the signs of rejection, that might be the day trade that you're looking for. I mean, there's just not much else that I can see here. Let's move over to some other markets, Ty. Gold, congratulations, anyone that got the 2070. Let's have a look here. Oh, it actually wasn't 27. Oh, wait a second. 2070.03. So there you go. You got it. Now, why is it having problems here? Partly just all the minerals probably dropping. I haven't looked at everything in the market yet in the last couple of hours. But yeah, here is the resistance. It hit smack bang into it. Every single one of our zones, and I mean every single one of our zones, was perfect. Well done, community. That was really fantastic. So what I mean is if we go down to the 4 hour, we had 1960, obviously a big key, got like $10 above and then sold off. We had the other zones as well. We obviously had this one down here, the 1870. Why? Strong. Of course, that's an area that we were looking for. And there's been some amazing trades on it. I don't know the next move here for gold, okay? And neither does Tyrone. We really don't. Nope. It's a take the data in, and at this present time, I don't know, and neither does Tyrone. We've been talking about this today. I mean, I'm guessing at this stage on this one, Ty. Even with my leads, I don't know what it's going to do next because we've got this risk off, risk on environment that's just done a flick switch in the last couple of hours.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And look, the thing is, anyone who pretends they think they know what's going to happen now doesn't really know. And that's the truth. That goes for oil as well. We can speculate, but it is absolutely a speculation. Now, look, I mean, I get annoyed sometimes on Thomas's behalf because I go onto the YouTube channel and see some of the negative comments that they say, oh, but you said that oil was going to stop at 100 and blah, blah, blah. Anyone who's traded oil all the way up to $140, and actually thinks that they're actually a trader because they got lucky because a war-torn country is actually stopping oil supply. If they think they're a trader because they picked that, then I've got news for them. They're going to have a very, very disappointing 2024, 5, 6, and 7 and onwards, because that's not trading. That's speculation, right? You all know that. Everybody in this room knows that. Okay, so gold is a little bit similar in the sense that it's where it's at now. If it goes back to 1900 and you've shorted it, you're speculating that it's not going to go any higher. Could it go to 2100? Well, of course it can. I mean, it's not that far away. We've been talking up gold for basically the best part of 14 weeks, I reckon, since probably about mid-November. And again, that was another one that I saw comments on where they were saying, you said that gold wasn't going to do this. Well, actually, go back and watch our 1500 videos for the last little bit.
Yeah, we talked a lot of smack on gold from December. We were a bit early on that one, but it ended up coming through pretty good. So
we did say it wasn't a scalp. It was literally an 8 to 10 week period where gold was going to rise. Now, did we know it was going to 2070? Well, no, of course we didn't. But what we did know was there was a lot of key levels in between that we were aiming for. Okay, and every single one of those was hit. And that's all you're after. You don't have to capture the whole move. And this is one of those things where you've got to be really, really careful where you don't get the FOMO and say, oh my God, I think gold's going to 2200. I better get in because everybody else is in. It's going up like a rocket, or oil's going to 150. You've got to be really, really careful that you don't get caught up in that trap. Okay. If you're picking key levels and you're aiming for a key level that makes sense, that's okay. Do not get FOMO. This is where FOMO will really, really bring you undone, and it will spank you with a wooden spoon. For all of you who are old enough to understand what a wooden spoon is and a spanking with a wooden spoon, you'll know what I'm talking about, because that's what the FOMO will do to you, especially on gold and oil at the moment. Just be really, really careful if you are trading it, okay? Very, very careful.
So we've got here copper requests from people. And if we have requests, please send them through. What I'd like the community to do a little bit more, if possible, is give us trades that you're looking at. If you have, let's criticize or critique them, or make sure that we like them, because you guys are our eyes in many ways. We have certain things that we like, obviously, that are based on kind of that usually a little bit bigger time frame. But if you spot something, let us know. So copper here, it's coming back down. Now, copper is a bit of a lead indicator of usually growth or failure in economies, I guess. And copper was one of the leads that got us out of that whole March not only did it actually start selling, remember the copper traders sold as soon as they heard about the news of the COVID stuff. They were first in for sure, but then they continued to sell, and they were also first to start buying it up again. So we've had a real hold economy, and copper hasn't been moving as much as others, and I think that's because of the nature of this, plus also where a lot of copper comes from. So it's come back down to this support. Is this a good buy? It's a zone of interest. I'm not that focused on the metals right now. Yeah, I think a lot of the metal trades have run their course as far as Tyrone and I are seeing them. Like, there could be more in them. If you like it, it's here. And obviously you're looking at the 480 break to the upside. That's what I would be doing. I'd be saying, okay, double bottom break, let's go. That would be probably the better trade here. But they are tough, these metals at the moment. A lot of them kind of topped out in the last 24 hours from at least what we're seeing at this stage.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones we've really got to watch and see. Graham says that a metal spoon is worse. He's been made in Japan. And hey, I tell you what, wooden spoons leave splinters. When I was younger, I was a bit of a menace, and it wouldn't be the first time Mum broke a wooden spoon on me. And if they leave a splinter, Graham, yeah, you'll know about it. So don't worry about that. And Stephen, you know what? It's not, FOMO is not going to be one of the topics at the conference. My talk, actually, I'm only doing one session, and it is going to be on discipline and risk management and psychology. And look, FOMO to an extent kicks in on it, but look, I understand, a lot of you guys really know what we're talking about, but sometimes I think you need a bit of a reminder, because sometimes the market tries to tempt you. It's like an alluring, opposite sex person at the bar when you're sitting there trying to get a quiet drink, and they're trying to tempt you with their seductive nature. That's what FOMO is with gold and oil. They're trying to get you to do the wrong thing. And, a lot of people fall victim. And even if you're not a beginner, a lot of people fall victim, don't they, Thomas? Like, you can easily fall victim to the seductress called FOMO.
No, you certainly can. I've fallen victim a few times sometimes to that one. The old FOMO sometimes does get me. I actually traded some GameStop, remember? not much, but I did. And that was because I was like, you know what? I got to get involved in this action. This action's crazy. So here we have with risk management, yeah? So left hand shoulder, head, and right shoulder is the question about semiconductors. Look, semiconductors are weak. I wouldn't bet against them that much. Now, I have been on record talking about selling off NVIDIA, very specific area that I was targeting. But look, with this, it's a very powerful sector. It's the best returning sector pretty much in the market. So it's tough to short. And there are easier shorts out here. If this is breached back above, you could see it almost as a false break downside. Okay. But if it looks like it does, which it currently does, head and shoulders, we actually talked about this in the last one, on the downward side aren't that good at predicting full range. So if you said, oh, I've got a head and shoulders here, I think it's therefore going this far down, and you end up working that out and it's $180, I don't know so much. I mean, I've got this level up here about 222 or 220 in general. This area is more what I'm looking at. This is the zone that I feel more powerful at in terms of the buy or the turnaround. Ty, do you agree? I mean, yeah, it's true. However, it's got a top right shoulder. Do you like it? Or do you just want to just say, okay, let's go here?
I reckon that head's been attacked by a swarm of bees.
Yeah, it's a bit it's a big head.
It's a bit on the wide side for mine. I know about that. I mean, look, you can, far out. I mean, if you take it out another time frame, the head will look a bit smaller, I suppose. I mean, if you take it out to a daily, you're going to probably see a bit of a more finely tuned, even further, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Like, it's sometimes I think you find that people will, you can create a pattern out of nowhere if you really, really look for it. But to me, the idea of a head and shoulders, and this is just probably, this is my opinion, right? It doesn't mean it's 100% right. But to me, I like the head to be a little bit more reactive to the short, because it's actually it's telling us more about the market sentiment than anything else. A sharp move down from the head, so getting a nice pointy head, like a cone head, is telling us that we've got a fierce rejection from a level rather than a level that was actually very well considered. So a cone head for mine is better than a flat head. that makes sense.
Okay. Well, I guess it does. It's more of an extreme price. So look,
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet against semis here. For me, Nvidia was one of the ones that I was looking at a price, and it reached it again yesterday, which is that 209 kind of low. And now look, it's back up to what, 223. So very strong in the pre-market here, 3.79 up. I find it difficult, like all of this area, this bottom here to my green zone, for me, that's more of a buy zone if I'm looking at the longer term investment. If you're looking for the trades, I think the best trades have generally been on the indices, S&P 500, Nasdaq, the two best, the DAX, fantastic trading recently. On the stock side of things, look, I have been noticing that SPLK has technically had a breakout on it after the earnings. So the earnings came out, it broke out, it's hovering around. Tyron and I have been discussing this one here, which has been Woolworths in Australia. This is one we're still fairly bullish on at these bases here. We think that there's a strongish play through Woolworths. We've talked about that for the last couple of weeks, and that's been pretty good. What are you laughing at?
I just bless the fresh
food
food
people.
people's house. Bless
Do they
the
have
fresh food people.
Do they have one of those like stupid collect them all coming up? That usually
I
makes
think
them
they've
some
got,
money.
haven't they
So
got
we
like
need-
some, I think they've shifted towards using, rather than giving away useless kids products, they're going to like pans and pots. I think that's Coles as well. They basically mimic each other anyway.
Oh, really? Pans and pots.
Yeah. But WoW, WoW has been, I love WoW. I just love it. The stock market sometimes, when it reaches levels that just make sense, it is just so obvious. And I mean, I know we can't come on here and say, oh my God, that's just so obvious, because we would quickly be getting speeding fines from our licensees. But in reality, sometimes when a stock makes sense and everything is making sense in that regard, let's not forget too, by the way, Woolworths is a defensive. Very, very important to remember that even though we're in a very volatile and extraordinarily crazy market, we are still talking about a defensive stock on its knees, right? Very important to remember.
Absolutely, Ty. And like the Australian market will trade different to the American market as well in some of these seasonals. And we've proofed the seasonal here for the fresh food people as well to a degree. So remember, it's the data as well that we do go behind. And that's a lot of what we teach in the mentoring. We like to have the data going with us. So here's XLP. We had a question: is it time to get out of this? This is the consumer staples in the US and the market here. Look, it's a pretty big trend line. It's hard pressed to say that that's not going to be, a strength zone. But this is something that's interesting. In the last 24 hours, we saw staples drop heavily. We saw XLY, which is consumer discretionary, try to hold itself and try to bounce. It tried to hold itself. And we saw a movement into markets that was uncharacteristic of quite a few days worth of trade. So let me just bring this up so we can all see it. Let's look at the last 1 day worth of trade. So we had TAN, solar up hard, PBW up hard, which is clean energy. We had Jets. Don't worry about that. Doesn't matter. Jets is irrelevant at this stage. And then we had some other sectors that were kind of new, or gold or anything like that. Gold hit its profit. It's done. We hit the 40 on GDX. Semiconductors, at least from what our target was, semiconductors themselves were suddenly up, even though the market was down. So things slightly changing here in the market dynamics. I think people are starting to select some sectors, Ty. I think that's what they're doing. They're selecting stuff. They're saying, okay, now that we've seen some bad news, what would we like to potentially start to move into that is down? Because they're starting to play the stat game.
Yeah.
They might be wrong, but they're starting to play the stat game. Yeah.
Actually, Stephen, just for your interest, Stephen, there is a sector analysis expert speaking at the conference on Saturday, and that's what I know. You asked about some of the topics. One of them is going to be sector analysis, actually, and how to pick stocks inside the sectors with relatively very accurate predictions. So that's going to be one of the speakers there. He's a research expert on the sector space. So looking forward to that particular one.
Yes, I know. Yeah. He's quite good. So Fernando here, Oxy, after Buffett purchase at the money, does it have potential to break? I mean, if this was a Buffett purchase, I don't even know what price is, but is he buying here, or usually Buffett's disclosed quite before? I mean, I don't like it at all. It seems like it's kind of done a huge run on it, and it's getting quite volatile up here. And you'll notice even in the pre-market, it's down. Look, when a market runs, I don't know if it's run based on the earnings, which I doubt it was, or based on some Buffett thing. If it's running on Buffett, never go with that. I've seen so many stocks over the years. I can tell people, like, what was another one? Teva, terrible. People chased it because Buffett bought it. Disaster stock for them. The other one was Snow, didn't work out. I mean, obviously it went up hard and then got destroyed. You've got to be careful about following people. What have we learned about people that followed Cathie Wood? Now, obviously Buffett is really, really, really good, but the thing is, I just wouldn't follow other people's just because it's bouncing off there. If it's bouncing off FOMO because someone else purchased it, that's not real price action. That's more of just a FOMO kind of concept. Plus, if you want to follow Buffett, just buy Buffett stock.
Jimmy Buffett, isn't that the pina colada guy? Jimmy, the pina colada Jimmy Buffett. Is that him?
Chino says, as someone who works at Coles, Woolies has to be a good investment. Yeah, very good.
So, look, you do want to be. Look, I always say to people, we get probably 5 or 6 emails a week asking about, should we follow newsletters? Are there any good newsletters to follow? We always say the reason you guys are here is to learn what to do yourself, right? At the end of the day, I don't mind. Our advice to these people is generally there's nothing wrong with looking at newsletters, but what we would advise people to do is actually make decisions from themselves based on what they know themselves. So they might give you a suggestion, but if you can't see the relevance of that suggestion and you can't make the technicals work or the fundamentals work, or you just don't simply agree, don't take it for the hell of it just because some guru said so in a newsletter, right? That's probably the best advice we can give you. I'm not saying that they're all bad, because they're not, but just don't rely wholly in taking their ideas on board, but actually applying your own analysis. And do you agree? And if you agree, great. And if you don't, treat it with caution, because I mean, at the end of the day, these people are people just like everybody else. You don't know what they're basing all these decisions on. They're certainly not going to always be right, but at least if you actually place your own analysis on top of what they're recommending, you can actually live and die by your sword and go away, knowing full well that you believe in that trade too. There's nothing worse than following some idiot. I'm not saying they're all idiots or some, but some people just believe anything, right? And you follow some supposed guru who's writing for a newsletter, and it doesn't work out, and you've lost a substantial amount of money, and you're like, damn, I would never have done that if it was my technical analysis. Then there's nothing worse than that, and I see people do that all the time. So apply your own analysis and make sure that you believe in what they say as well. And then there's nothing wrong with the newsletters. Just don't take their advice wholly and solely, is my advice there.
Yeah, assess it. I think, again, I like, if you're going to ask me who's the best, I'd say always Druckenmiller. I think he's a really, really astute guy. He knows what's up. He uses TA quite a lot as well, which I like about him. He uses fundamentals into TA. So listen to Reason says, Tom, NVIDIA has a gap to fill at 197 from Feb 17, right? So if you go back over to NVIDIA, I'm sure there is probably a gap that happened maybe off the split or whatever else was going on. Not all gaps Feb 17. Is it 197, you think? Recently? I'm not too sure where it is. But realistically, I don't go so much for gap fills. All right. I really don't like gap fills and always going for them. It's good when they're close. But remember that study that I think Ian did in the room. If you can get access to it, I'm pretty sure I shared it in the private community. It's a really good study on gap fills. And what he found when he went through a lot of history is that gap fills tend to fill the next couple of next 3 days. And if they don't fill over that period, of course, the first day being the most likely gap fill, and then it drops off exponentially. And then, yes, all gaps eventually fill, but that could be 10 years time when a market crashes or that stock crashes or whatever. You know what I mean? So it gap fills. You have to look for it in the first couple of days. And if it doesn't happen, it becomes infinitesimal. It becomes way less likely that it's going to occur. So the gap trade is great. I specifically like gap trades for sometimes the next day. But notice this one even over here. Here's a gap. There's a gap. There's a gap here. It took a while to fill it. If you were trading for the gap fill, that's pretty damn scary what happened. So be very, very, very careful there. Very careful.
Yeah, and I hear you. I think it's Shelley. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Shelley. Thank you, Shelley, for that. That's yeah, we really appreciate that. Thank you for your kind words. We do try to keep it very, very standard, and the reason why we don't make things complicated is we can truthfully say hand on heart that we don't complicate our own trades. We would never ever recommend a method or anything that we wouldn't do ourselves, and that's a promise from Thomas and myself, that we would never ever recommend something and never talk about anything that we don't know about. Believe me when I say, if someone asks us a question that we don't know the answer to, we're not just going to make some shit up, right? I can tell you that. We will say we do not know the answer to that, or we'll try and find out for you. Very rarely are you going to stump us, because we do know a lot. But at the same time, we don't profess to know everything. And that's the way we like it, because we keep learning. And, we only focus on what we do. We get questions all the time about Elliott Wave, harmonic patterns, all of the fancy stuff that people do trade. Do they work? Probably. I don't know. I'm not going to say they don't. But what I'm not going to do is advise you on how to trade something that we don't use ourselves. The only thing I can say is that, and we often say this, is that it's a different type of technique. And what we've refined our system to is applying the tools that work together well. Because the problem is, and part of the biggest problem for people starting out their trading journey, is they try to apply the wrong tools to the wrong trade setups, and they get conflicting advice from different indicators. And we've refined the art of actually using the things that work. Okay. And sometimes that seems a little bit straightforward and backward, but by golly gosh, it works for us. And it works for the majority of people in the room. So, we certainly ain't changing, but we do certainly appreciate your kind words.
So we go through here, a lot of stocks. I'm just looking through some of the favorites right now, just doing a quick scan. And I just don't see too many really big action plays on some of the favorite stocks. I think where you're starting to see like really nice supports are maybe some of the bigger kind of positions, the Microsofts, even Google. It had a go down here at the low. Remember, Google is still going to be doing a split moving forward. People have forgotten about that. If the market trades and changes, let's say this happens on Google, it goes bullish here, and then suddenly it breaks through that. Are we going to suddenly get bullish on Google? I personally am. I mean, it's the way I'm looking at it. I like this company. If you were to say to me, Tom, what are your favorite stocks in the market right now? I'd say at these current prices, I still really like Microsoft. I still really like Google. And I actually don't mind Amazon. Okay. So I think all these three stocks, I'm not a fan of Apple. I've got to say, Apple is not giving me the love anymore like it used to. Not Facebook. I think one of these companies could kick Facebook's ass. Probably not this one, because they always have bad execution. But this company could actually kick Facebook's ass. So Facebook, Netflix, I'm not a fan. I don't like it. I would also add Nvidia is interesting up here. But these are the four that I really like, just from a pure fundamental, like the winners will keep on winning. I said this in the mentoring the other day, Ty. Might as well say it here. Ask yourself this question. I've always said this. Something I've made a mistake on. Would you rather, like Buffett always says, own a great stock at a good price? He's technically correct. You want to take the winningest stocks. Whatever's won in the current, last 5-6 years is probably going to continue being a winner. Because if the Fed controls this market, let's just say it goes bullish and the Fed didn't have to do anything and they just raise rates, but they don't do it that much, and we stay in a fairly low interest rate environment, which companies are probably going to do best? The big mega caps that have been doing well. Is that good? No. For the economy, it's not, but it's what is happening. Unless the world order changes, we usually see these big companies do really, really well. So yeah, I've scrolled through a whole bunch of these just then, Ty. I mean, Apple's certainly on its support. It's bouncing here 2.57 today, up 1.161. Like, so many are holding. And what you're going to be looking for more so is if they do have little runs on them here, can they hold and break past this? I mean, this is going to be the teller for me on so many stocks. Apple will be on the downtrend. This rally is here, but is it actually the real rally? We don't know that yet.
No, it's got to prove itself to be the real rally. And I think we just have to give it the time. This is where that patience kicks in, I think. Difficult one to trade.
Matthew Harris says, hasn't Apple won the most in the past 5 years? It absolutely has. Microsoft's won very hard too, Matthew, if you look at it. I just, that's my personal just choice, okay? It's still a winning company and it's still a good pick. But if I was looking at it based on multiples, based on what I like at the moment and just my analysis, Apple's still a great pick, but I prefer the others. Yeah. So, yeah, pretty big there. All right, let's look. I mean, is there any, like, I'm just looking here in these stocks and from a lot of stocks have hit support, but they've bounced so hard in the pre-market here, Ty. It's kind of a bit nasty. 3.1%, 850 for Tesla. This is a pretty good day trading stock. We've got some good little sup reses here. So if we open about 850, let's have a look at the 2 hour. I mean, we could go back to this. See, this level here, you've seen it bounce once. This is the second touch. I mean, if you see like a shooting star here or big in golf, I mean, there still could be a day trade in this area. I'm just trying to find something for you guys. I hate it when the market moves so aggressively before we get in.
It's a fact-finding mission tonight. It really isn't it?
Yeah, I really am looking here. It's been more clear to me most days. I mean, that trade happened. That happened live for us. I was looking at that and I was thinking, okay, I'm not going to say bye.
We were saying, if that was our webinar, in all seriousness, we were in the Pepperstone webinar and the thing was literally about to bounce and you could just see it. You know, I reckon I saw Thomas reach for his mouse button to buy. I thought I heard the click, but I'm not so sure. But if that was in our webinar, I tell you what, we would have been long, like straight in. I couldn't because I didn't have it up, but we were dying to say something, but you just can't. Yeah, we can't. We're not, you know, you guys know exactly what we're looking at, but it was looking like it was just like a little, it was like a bauble that's just been flicked. It was about to pop.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I get a question here. Is Tesla not your favorite at 800? It's a good deal, maybe, considering where it's been. And it's got higher risk reward kind of parameters. But I look, I have diamond hands for something like a Microsoft or a Google. That's just my comfort zone. But yeah, look, Tesla is certainly a better price. This is pretty funny though. I saw that and I thought, oh wow. SE. So this is SEA, pretty beaten down stock. Up today 4.23%. So let's have a look at this on the daily, just quickly put it in perspective. It's very oversold. I mean, it's basically sold back to May 2020. It's because it burns cash. I mean, burns it. Have a look at its, I'll bring it up now so you can see it. Check out this. So you got your PE ratio. Obviously, it makes no money. And then if we have a look here at the sales has gone up. But if you then have a look at some of the other ratios here, like a return on equity or something, it's just, was it the PE that I was using? Can't remember. Oh yeah, the earnings per share. That's what I wanted. So the earnings per share here, if you notice, it was kind of improving. And then when it started its radical growth spree, which happened recently, it's been consistently losing more money each time. So it's kind of like scaling, but it's doing like an Amazon, except it's scaling backwards. And I think that's just because of a whole bunch of stuff. The other problem as well is they lost their, I think India banned their game or something like that. So look, it's down on its knees. You could do worse than SE. You could do worse. It is a good company, but it's it's in the doldrums at the moment. It's been very low. This is a high conviction stock from someone like Kathy Wood. I like it. It's not showing price action for us though. So as traders, we won't like it as much. Hero says that the US 10-year technically trade. Yeah, I guess it could. I've never actually tried to technically trade it so much, Hero. You could trade it, but you kind of know how. You know something a little bit. Some people don't know here. The crazy fuel cell stocks are taking off again. BL, DP, Plug. Yes, exactly. All these fuel cells are doing very well. So if you think about, you know, all those ones that got beaten down very heavily, these are all in nice patterns. I mean, Tyron and I, we see that and I go, oh wow, You know, this is exactly what you want to be seeing in terms of, is this the right type of trade for after a crash? I would say absolutely. Look at it. Much better, isn't it, Ty? That's much better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's a fantastic
great
looking position.
Yep.
BLDP. So that's Ballard Power Systems. Another one. Very nice. Yep. I see it. I understand. I like it. It's doing huge percentages, but this is a wild stock, you know. This is the base formation. Look at the volume.
Yep. Very easy aiming targets too. I like that one.
Yeah, it's good. Earnings 4 days though, which might be a bit of a pain in the ass. Did the other one have earnings? Earnings is done. Good. So I don't like earnings. Earnings on crazy stocks scares me. But yeah, look, these are good bases, Kevin. Nice. I like that. Now I'm more excited for those than the other ones. Yes. In fact, you should post them in the room. Shelley says LCID and Hood were pretty surprising for me yesterday. Two stocks that I'm not a huge fan of, I must say. I bagged Hood hard when it came out. I think rightfully so. I hate IPOs. Remember, IPOs in America, if you're in early, sell it day 1, day 2, profit cow, yeah, usually. If you hold it for 12, 18 months, you usually start to find a base. And Hood is very potentially finding a base. A loss lead, bit higher volume. You can kind of see that's coming through. I like those other ones more. I've got to say they're looking way better.
Yeah, no, definitely. Shelley says that chill W cat. Is that like something? Is that a thing, or is that like something? I'm not up with the terminology.
It wouldn't be in this chat. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Cool.
I
don't know. Hey, I went to the news agents today with Aiden because after his karate, he wanted to buy Pokemon cards, and I promised him if he was good, I'd buy him some. And we walked into the store, and the guy said, I said to him, he wants, this pack of Pokemon. That's all fine. So he bought that. And the guy goes, yeah, Pokemon are fun. He said, do you remember trading them when you were a kid? I said, mate, I can tell you Pokemon was not around when I was a kid. I'll take the compliment. He said, but it's their 25-year anniversary. And I'm like, yeah, well, that absolutely guarantees that they were not around when I was a kid. So I do not remember Pokemon's 25-year anniversary. Thomas might. Yeah, Thomas would.
Yeah. I'll tell you a story, Ty. I almost bought the Charizard PSA 1 first edition 5 years ago, 10 grand US.
Jesus.
For anyone that knows, I had it done. I ended up buying a comic instead. Mistake was made, guys. That stupid card tie is worth about 300,000 now.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I would sell it too. Actually, would I? That's the thing. I might hold it. I think it could become worth like $1 million. I'm not even kidding you. They're pretty solid investments, actually, those old cards. Marvin the Martian, yeah, Tom's Hood, words of wisdom on Hood saved me. Yeah, Hood coin, they were all pretty bad. So yeah, I think the story here is these types of stocks seem to be the ones of interest. These crazy clean energy, Enphase, one of the leaders in the solar side. And this is actually what I've got on my roof. I've got these guys' product on my roof in terms of solar. So the micro switches. So I know it's pretty good. These are the stocks that seem to be getting the most attention from the market. I noticed though CRISPR was up yesterday as well, and that's starting to form maybe a base. So look, if this market is to be believed, a rotation occurred yesterday. Okay, so if this market's to be believed and it's going to start turning up, they've just they flicked a switch that seemed very dodgy to me. It was totally different and uncharacteristic than what they've been doing. They've slowly been adding into clean energy, solar, and semiconductors could be partially what they're looking for next. They're not so much getting into the big fang at this stage. Maybe they don't want to show their hand, but I'm smelling something that's a little bit different to what it was, Ty. The main thing with the S&P 500 is if it falls through these lows. So if it falls through these lows, these points down here, 4,100, let's say, I think we're going to 3,800. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Underneath here, it's, it's do or die. It gets under here. Bleh. There we go.
It's going to be very, very, very ugly if it gets through there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with that. Yep.
Yeah. So I think for viewers here, for people in the private community, some of the trades that I guess you could be looking at, though they are, big movements. So you're going to have to be careful there. And risk parameters, obviously, accordingly, would be those clean energy stocks that we saw. They seem to be doing quite well. We've got still the solar stocks to a degree. They're doing okay, and there seems to be a run on them. What else? I mean, let's have a look at NEE coming in here. It might be NEE. I like this one. I was with a mentoring group this week, and I was talking about this thing. So this is a utility stock. Utilities started to show a little bit of action, and this was one of them. So NEE was just one that I was looking at. But there's quite a few utility stocks that tend to do all right. So if you want a bit more defensive capabilities with the same kind of concept as maybe, you're feeling scared of the market, then maybe the defensives are better for you as well. So there's a lot of different opportunities, but these types of stocks are the ones that I've been seeing over the last couple of days, and also the Woolworths as well.
Yep. Matthew Harris asks about Telstra. We can have a quick look at Telstra.
Australian stock, yeah, sitting about $4, I think.
Another defensive.
Yeah, defensive it is, but it's been hovering around the 4. I guess that'd be a cool weekly close if it happened too early for it.
It would want to be my thoughts on Telstra, Matthew, is that
thoughts, yeah.
I like it for the long if it can close above $4. I think $4.30 is probably its potential again. It can reach that previous high. But I reckon if this base fails, and it's a base here, don't worry about that. It's a role reversal zone. If we fail here, I think we're probably going to go down to those high 60s, low 70s again.
I could even see it down here. That area there.
Yeah, potentially. Yep.
Yeah. Doesn't interest me.
It's time. It's hard to trade this one at the moment. It is hard to trade this one.
Yeah. Stephen says, my gut tells me the sell-off will be on Friday after a big CPI print. It's going to be a big one. Then recover after the Fed print on rate rises. Yes. So that's a big one. Dav G says, like defense contractors, grain, fertilizers, shipping, oil and gas. Oil and gas going to be careful. Metals, including lithium, nickel, and cobalt. Yep. So I like those as well. Fertilizers have been a pretty strong play, though the move has happened very hard. I mean, if you're in them, Dav G, well done. I mean, look, I posted in the room. If you haven't looked, go to the sector rotation room. I literally have been posting for the start. If you actually go over here it is. So here we have the defense list. Obviously, I put the ETFs up, and I said here, Kim said something there, but I said here, look, we've got the hacking, we've got the guns, we've got the ships, we've got the vehicles. I tagged some people in it. So they're the codes that I liked leading in. Obviously, RMH went psycho, so that's a bit insane. Klim's put in here some stuff to do with fertilizers, which was there the other day. And there's certainly some of the strong kind of positions. So, yeah, I agree. Look, I think GDP expenditure in defense is going to go up. So if you look at like Lockheed Martin, it's down again today here, 434. It's hard to get into. If you're in over here, all good. And I still think Lockheed Martin turns. So say today it's down 3.12%. There's a good chance that if this sell-off does occur, that if you have the belief that there's going to be expenditure coming in through the GDP, coming in through all these countries in the world, and this is a leader, that you might be very soon able to grab it in these prices.
Yeah. There's going to be that spending. They're all but guaranteeing it. The governments are all coming out and saying that they're going to do it.
But a lot of them haven't announced all their GDP components. Plus, we don't know who wins the contracts. So you have to take the winners. Yes.
It's like an interesting one.
This is an interesting trade. I prefer it here if you haven't already got into it.
Yeah, I think you got to wait for it. I wouldn't be jumping on where it is now.
No, because it jumped a lot, even for these companies. But look, this has been sitting for a long time.
Yeah. We've got Kevin N says, Ty and Tom known as doom and gloom. Kevin N, let me tell you something, mate. If you were at the conference on this weekend, you would know that that's the complete opposite. Not only were you not doom and gloom, I reckon we're sunshine and roses. Actually, I'm going to go with sunshine and roses. And the reason for that is because for the most part, we do actually make more money on the way up than prepare ourselves and try and prepare the room for the potential pullbacks that can happen so they can get themselves caught up trying to chase their tails. Because more money is made on the way up than on the way down, especially in the stock market. And if we were doom and gloom, Thomas, would you be doom or gloom? I'm just wondering. I reckon you'd be gloom.
I was going to say maybe I would be gloom. Yeah, I'd be like,
I think you'd be the gloom. I'd be the doom,
terrible.
and you'd be the gloom.
You'd be dooming, yeah. Yeah. So look, it's a distinct change here. We've got the 10-year kind of going up quite a lot. So that's sitting back at the 1.9. The actual distance between the 2-year and the 10-year is still quite close. It's interesting. Like the one thing I always think is funny about the market is the 10-year moves and it goes in these directions and all these types of things. But what you'll find is that whatever the market is thinking tends not to actually be what happens. Look how wrong they are with the 10-year compared to actually what ends up occurring. And I think that's something that's very, very, you need to be keeping in mind here in the markets. But yeah, for today, look, it's bullish. We've seen some movements going out from the areas that are becoming more of a sure thing, more where the government money is going. A lot of pull-offs in all these metals. I just want to check out palladium here before we close up, Ty. Let's check out palladium. Good. See, this is why I'll tell you this. This is why I thought this is over. Okay. And it's because of this crash here in palladium. So palladium dumped hard. A symbol, in my opinion, to one of the 3 ways that trends change, which I'll be talking about at the conference. But anyway, this one here, big sell-off. And it was huge. It was like 18% down, and then it rallied dead cat bounce style. That, to me, is a no-go land. No-go land palladium for me. For me. If I'm wrong, cool. That's great. But that is absolutely the end, in my opinion, the way I look at these charts. So that's why I think we're at that point where everyone's gone on this trade. And the reason I hate them is because every single person is mentioning oil. I have clients that are 85 calling me, hello, I think we should buy oil. I had a client today tell me, Ty, they said, oh, we should buy oil. They're like, we should buy oil. I'm thinking, no. And they don't know anything about the market. I'm thinking, no. Never good.
No, it isn't. It's never no. When you start to hear people who know nothing.
You've done very well, Michael. Very well. Good work.
No, that is a good one. No, Kevin, mate, I know you're only joking. It's all good. I know you can't come to Cairns, but we fully expect you to be the leader of the Vegas conference, which we are planning very, very soon. So we may not see you in Cairns on the weekend, but we fully expect that you will be at the Vegas conference.
And if you ever want any more proof about why we know that things just got insane, there's your chart. So we'll end there, Ty. We'll say thank you very much for joining us for today. We had some clean energy. We had some clean stocks, it seems like, that we're showing the best base formations. There's a few opportunities there in the stock market. The currency market seems to be kind of taking a bit of that risk off and going back into things like the euro and the pound and those things for now. But yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks, and it's hard to navigate, and it's got to be like this. It's fast at the moment. That's all we can really do.
Yep. No, I hear you right there. All right. Thank you, everyone. So just a very, very couple of quick housekeeping items. Q&A tomorrow morning back at 9:15 a.m. So you'll get your email alerts on that. We've got that on the email cycle as well now. So that is really, really cool. The webinar, I believe, will be back in the AM next week. I think we're going AM, PM on the things. I can't promise that I'm going to be there because it's going to depend on the kids, because I'm actually staying for a couple of days after the conference, but it will be in the AM regardless. And yes, for those of you who are attending on the weekend, look forward to seeing you. Other than that, we'll see you in the Q&A and, of course, in the Discord. The Friday wrap is going to be an interesting one. I really think, like we've said all night tonight, it's a bit of a watch and see, because I think the market's going to tell us a very interesting story in the morning. I think we're going to see some very interesting things after the US trading session tonight, whether it actually can hold its gains or whether it's a big dirty reversal.
Yeah, big dirty reversal would be kind of pretty terrifying, I think, for a lot of people, because that probably means we're going through that low. Look, we're not soothsayers all the time, everybody. We do focus on the price action, and when it tells us a certain direction, we take the stats. That's what we're doing, using the data that's available to us. Have a great day. If it's the beginning, have a great night. If it's the end, we'll see you next week, and we'll see some of you at the conference. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.